Raise your hand if you've ever received a letter in the mail. Excellent, so most of you have received letters in the mail before. Now, did you enjoy receiving that letter? Sarah? Right, I know that I love receiving a letter because it really shows that someone took time out of their day to sit down and write to me. Sometimes my cousin, who lives pretty far away in Utah, sends me a letter about her work, or about the house her and her husband just bought, or about the weekend adventures she's planning on having, whether that be hanging out with her friends or climbing a mountain. And when someone takes time out of their day and sits down and writes you a letter and sends it away, you really know how much they care about you. Often today we communicate with our phones, whether it's texting or emailing. And while that does show that you care, I think there's something very special about writing and sending someone a letter. And it just really shows them how much you care. So today we're looking at how to write a friendly letter. Now I'm going to read you a few examples of friendly letters from this book, Dear Mrs. LaRue, Letters from Obedience School. This was written and illustrated by Mark Teague. Now in this book we have the character Ike, and Ike was sent to obedience school by his master, Mrs. LaRue. Now when dogs are sent to obedience school, it usually means that they weren't being very good dogs. Maybe they were chewing on their master's slippers. Maybe they ran away. Maybe they weren't playing nicely with the neighborhood dogs. But dogs are sent to obedience school so that they learn how to become good dogs. So let's see what Ike has to say about being in obedience school. The first letter is dated October 1st. Dear Mrs. LaRue, how could you do this to me? This is a prison, not a school. You should see the other dogs. They are bad dogs, Mrs. LaRue. I do not fit in. Even the journey here was a horror. I am very unhappy and may need something to chew on when I get home. Please come right away. Sincerely, Ike. His second letter, October 2nd. Dear Mrs. LaRue, were you really so upset about the chicken pie? You know, you might have discussed it with me. You could have said, Ike, don't eat the chicken pie. I'm saving it for dinner. Would that have been so difficult? It would have prevented a lot of hard feelings. Needless to say, I am being horribly mistreated. You say I should be patient and accept the fact that I'll be here through the term. Are you aware that the term lasts 2 months? Do you know how long that is in dog years? Sincerely, Ike. And I'll read one more of his letters. October 4th. Dear Mrs. LaRue, you should see what goes on around here. The way my warden, Miss Klondike, barks orders is shocking. Day after day, I'm forced to perform the most meaningless tasks. Today it was sit and roll over all day long. I flatly refuse to roll over. It's ridiculous. I won't do it. Of course, I was severely punished. And another thing, who will help you cross the street while I'm gone? You know you have a bad habit of not looking both ways. Think of all the times I've saved you. Well, there was that one time anyway. I must say, you weren't very grateful, complaining on and on about the tiny rip in your ratty old coat. But the point is, you need me. Yours, Ike. So, what is Ike writing to his master about in his letters? Ella? Yes, about how much he dislikes obedience school, about how he doesn't belong there. He is much better than the other bad dogs. But he's writing to his master about his experience, what he's going through at obedience school. And that's what we do in a friendly letter. We write to someone about something that we're going through or something that we're experiencing. Whether we write to our friend about our soccer camp that we're doing, or we write to our friend about the vacation we just got home from, or we write to our friend about our dog and how he's learning new tricks. In a friendly letter, we're writing about an experience. So I want you to look to your sharing partner and each share one reason why you could write a friendly letter. Okay, so what is one reason you could write a friendly letter? Michael? Excellent. You just started piano lessons and maybe you're excited about them, maybe you're not excited about them. You could tell your reader about the title of the different pieces that you're learning to play. Maybe you have recital coming up. That's a great idea. What's another reason? Jackson? Ooh, another excellent idea. Your parents just said you could get a dog. So maybe tell the person you're writing to about where you're gonna look for your dog. Are you gonna look for him at a shelter or at a pet store? Maybe just on the computer. Maybe you want a big dog and your sister wants a small dog, so maybe you'll compromise and get a medium-sized dog. Who's going to take care of the dog? Who's gonna take it for walks? There's a lot of things to say about that. So those are two great reasons why we could write a friendly letter. Because in a friendly letter, we're just writing about an experience or something that we're going through. Now, each friendly letter has 5 different parts. Each friendly letter has 5 different parts. And these 5 parts are heading, greeting, body, closing, and signature. Let's say those 5 parts together. Begin. Heading, greeting, body, closing, and signature. So let's take a look at what each of those 5 parts means by looking at Ike's letter here. So this is the first letter I read from you. I read to you from the book. So first we see our heading, and our heading is pointing to October 1st. So the heading is just the date that we wrote the letter. October 1st was the date that Ike wrote the letter to Mrs. LaRue. Now, when you write your letter, I want you to write the day, the month, and the year. We see that Ike did not write the year, but he has a dog, so we can forgive him for that. But the heading is just the date you wrote the letter. Now, why do you think having the date on your letter is so important? Elizabeth? Right, so your reader knows when you wrote the letter. You know, sometimes letters can get lost in the mail. Sometimes they can get lost for days, Stella, or months, or even years. But eventually they might make their way back to the receiver of the letter. So say it was Christmas time, and you wrote to your friend. It was just a few days after Christmas, and you wrote and you told him all about the presents you got, and about the different things you did with your family over Christmas break, and you asked him what presents he got, and you sent him that letter. Well, say that letter got lost in the mail, and it didn't arrive to your friend's house until March, and say you did not have your heading, you did not have the date on there. Well, your friend is opening up the letter, and he's so excited to be receiving a letter from you, and he reads it, and he gets very confused. He's thinking, why is my friend writing to me about Christmas? Why is he telling me what presents he got? I mean, I'm glad he got great presents, but he's asking me what presents I got? I don't remember, that was months ago. Because you don't have the date there. So he thinks that you just sent the letter out. If you had the date there, say it was December 27th, he probably would have realized, oh, my friend sent this letter back in December. I guess it must have just gotten lost in the mail. So having the heading or the date that you wrote the letter is very important. Now the second part of the letter, after the heading, is the greeting. Now, does anyone know what it means to greet someone? Elizabeth? Yes, exactly. Greeting someone is just saying hello to them. So we want to be polite in our letters by saying hello to the person we're writing to. Now, often in letters, you'll see the word dear as a greeting. And then you'll have the person's name and then a comma. Now, you don't have to use the word dear. You could write hello or greetings, something like that. But after your greeting, word, you want to make sure to write the person's name that you're writing to and then a comma. So greeting is a word saying hello, the person's name, and then a comma. So the heading is our date. The greeting is where we say hello with the person's name with a comma. And then we have the body. And the body is the biggest part of the letter. And it's where we really talk to our reader. If we want to talk to them about piano lessons, this is where we do it. If we want to talk about our trip to Disney World, this is where we do it. Now the body should have at least 3 to 4 good sentences. Because you wouldn't go to the trouble of writing a letter just to say, I had a great day, and send it off. Or, my dog has been learning new tricks, and then send it off. No, you really want at least 3 to 4 good sentences in your body to really talk to your reader. So the heading is the date. The greeting is where you say hello. The body is where you're talking to your reader. And then you have the closing. And the closing is just where you're wrapping up your letter, you're saying goodbye. And often in letters, we use the word sincerely, followed by a comma. But you could also use the words your friend, comma, yours truly, comma, love, comma. It just depends on who you're writing to. If you're writing to your friend, I would write your friend, comma. If you're writing maybe to your grandmother, your mom or dad, maybe use the word love, comma. But the closing is you're wrapping up your letter, you're saying goodbye, followed by a comma. So you need a comma in the greeting and a comma in the closing. Heading is the date, greeting where we say hello, body where we're talking to our reader, closing, we're wrapping up our letter, we're saying goodbye with a comma, and then we have our signature. Now, does anyone know what a signature is? Elizabeth? Exactly, it's just your name. Maybe you've seen your parents use their signatures when they're writing a check, or at the grocery store when they use their credit card, they have to sign their name on that device. A signature is just your name. Now, why do you think it's important to sign your name, to have your signature at the bottom of the letter? Maverick? Exactly, because the reader needs to know who wrote the letter, Jackson. Eyes up here. Say you wrote to your friend, and you had all the other parts of the letter except the signature. Well, your friend is reading the letter, and he's so excited to be receiving a letter from you, but then he doesn't know who it's from. You need to have your signature so that the reader of your letter knows who sent the letter. So each of the 5 parts of the letter is very important in its own way. It helps the reader know when you wrote the letter, who you're talking to, what you're talking to them about, and who you are as the writer. So let's say these 5 parts of a letter together again. Begin. Heading, greeting, body, closing, signature. Now, I have a worksheet for us to work on. Let's go ahead and take out your pencils, pass these back. And we're going to look at labeling the 5 parts of a letter. Okay, I will read the letter to you. It says, May 28, 2019. Dear Jackson, I am so excited because I only have 7 days left of school. During the summer, I'm going to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina with my family and cousins. I love swimming in the ocean and playing baseball on the beach with everyone. What are your summer plans? I can't wait to hear from you. Love, Avery. So this is an example of a friendly letter. Avery has written to Jackson telling him about his summer plans, a great reason to write a friendly letter. So at the bottom of your page, you have a word bank, and it should say heading, greeting, body, closing, and signature. That way you know how to spell each of the 5 parts. And what we're going to do is we're going to label each part, and you can write the label right inside the arrows there. So let's take a look at how to label this letter. The first arrow, the top arrow, is pointing to May 28th, 2019. So what is May 28th, 2019? Is it our heading, our greeting, our body, our closing, or our signature? Michael? It is our heading, it is our date. So in this first arrow, just write the word heading. All right, so the date is our heading. Next we have Dear Jackson, comma. What is Dear Jackson, comma? Elizabeth? Not quite, it's not our closing. Remember, closing is at the end of the letter where we're wrapping it up. This is where we're saying hello to Jackson. Excellent, it is our greeting. We are saying hello to Jackson, followed by a comma. So we're going to write greeting in that second arrow there. I should see these words spelled perfectly since you do have your word bank. Okay, we have heading and greeting. This huge portion of the letter. What is it? Sarah? Body. That third arrow is the body of the letter where we're talking to our reader. Okay, second to last one. We have signature and closing left. So what is love, comma? Maverick? Excellent, it is our closing. We're wrapping it up. Okay, and we have one more part to label. Avery. Avery, would you like to answer this one? It is our signature. It is the person who wrote the letter. So we're going to write signature in that last arrow there. It's a tough word to spell. I think you can do it. All right, and once you have signature, you may leave these on your desk, but I want you to get a blank piece of paper. Now we are going to write our very own friendly letters. You each are going to write a letter to someone today. So the first thing we need to do is you need to figure out who you want to write to. So this is the friendly letter, so we're either going to pick a friend or a relative. Maybe it's a friend who lives down the street. Maybe it's a friend you play soccer with. Maybe it's a friend who lives far away. Maybe it's a cousin, an aunt or uncle, a grandma or grandpa, mom or dad, sister or brother. And yes, you can even send a letter to someone who lives in the same house as you. As silly as that may sound, you can do that. But first you need to figure out who you want to send your letter to. And then I want you to brainstorm an idea about what you want to say to that person. Do you want to talk to them about summer? Do you want to talk to them about school? Do you want to talk to them about a sport you're playing, about something you're interested in doing, about an adventure or vacation you just had? I want you to think generally about what you're going to write to them about. Because if you think, well, I want to write to my aunt, and then you're thinking, well, I don't really have anything to say to her, well, then pick someone else to write to. Because in your body, I want to see at least 3 to 4 good, long sentences, well written. Now, of course, you need to write neatly. In your body, I want to see at least 3 to 4 good sentences. And what you're going to do is use this example that we just labeled as a template. And take your letter and do it part by part. Start with the heading, which is today's date, which is, Sarah? Exactly, May 29th, 2019. So all of you should have the same heading in the upper corner of your letter. And then you're going to greet the person. So you're going to greet whoever you're writing to. So you'll say dear or hello or greetings, followed by the person's name, followed by a comma. And then you're going to write your body, where you're going to have at least 3 to 4 good sentences to your reader. And then you're going to close your letter, and then you're going to write your signature. So first of all, think about who you want to write to. Second of all, think about what you're going to write to them about. And if you think, I want to write to my grandma, and then you're thinking and you think, I don't really have anything to say to her, pick someone else. And if you can't think of absolutely anyone to write a letter to, write it to your mom or dad, because I know that they would love to receive a letter from you. And then just attack your letter part by part. Start with your date, your greeting, talk to the person, close it, and then have your signature. Now, I think that you all can can think of one person to write a letter to, so I do not want to be assisting you figuring out who you want to write to. If you need assistance with spelling words or with setting up your letter, I would absolutely love to help you with that. So if you need some help, raise your hand. I will be walking around the classroom. But first, think about who you want to write to and what you want to write to them about. And you may begin writing your letter.